Hello, good morning, main event. How are we doing? It is time for another Kayfabe coffee. I am your host today, JPJ. We're going to be talking a little AEW Dynamite, recapping that show that we got last night. Welcome in, grab your breakfast, grab your coffee. We're going to have a good time this morning as we go through what was another jam-packed 3-hour edition of Dynamite / Collision and all that fun stuff. But before we get into the meat, you see it right there. Go main event _net on Twitter, on Instagram. Click this little fun QR code you see in the corner there. That will kind of send you everywhere you need to go for us. But give us a follow, hit that sub button, hit that bell for notifications. We're growing. We're getting to 400, y'all. We're getting to 400, y'all. And it's all because of you guys. So share it out. Share the love. Main event merch is 10% off all of May. So you have a few more days to go and get a 10% off sale at onthemarkwrestlingpodcast.com. Do it up. You know, all the fun things. We got a jam-packed weekend. This weekend, we got shows that are going to be previewing Clash that's happening on Sunday afternoon. We are going to be previewing the Mask vs. Mask match Saturday night for you AAA people out there. How we doing, Eric? Thank you for popping in. Good to see you. Yeah, man. So we got stuff all the time here. We got a great group of people doing great things. We just had our 24-hour marathon, the second ever 24-hour marathon last weekend. That was a rousing success. Pluggo and I had to wake up very early to do the 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. slot on Saturday. But that was a fun time. Thank you for all the support and love that we had during that. That was a great time. And as the boss man says, the first 10 hours will stay on YouTube. I think Pluggo and I are within the first 10 hours. I think. So you get the real money makers in there, you know. We were the highest rated. We were the highest rated segment on the 24 hours. That's just not me saying that. That Bleacher Report, Sports Illustrated, they're saying that the highest rated segment of that show was me and Pluggo. I mean, to be expected, obviously. But yeah, all right. AEW Dynamite last night in the disgusting city of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. You know, the city's great. The people, But Philly, gross, terrible sports teams. I don't know how they all live there, but they do. But that's where they were. Hardcore galore, ECW, who we love. The best thing to ever come out of Philadelphia, ECW. And they gave us another 3-hour show. I'm going to go on the record here. I'm going to say I love AEW. AEW has been producing great shows for a very, very, very long time. They are, in my opinion, the best wrestling organization in the world. That we will get to that. There is going to be a strong section of that. They are not perfect. However, what I will say is you got to cut it with the 3-hour Dynamites. You want to do, you know, a handful to half a dozen a year? Cool. I'm all in on that. Make it a big deal, quarterly, couple times a quarter. I'm all for that. 2 3-hour Dynamites in consecutive weeks, and then you had a 4.5, almost 5-hour pay-per-view right in the middle of that. That's a lot of wrestling, even for diehards. It's a lot of wrestling. Now, was last night's show very good? Yes, it was. It was a very, very, very good episode of Dynamite. I enjoyed it throughout all 3 hours. But still, that it's just you're asking your people to consume a lot of wrestling. I feel like we can get back to the 2-hour shows on Wednesday. My thing is, usually they do the 3-hour Dynamite when there's either a pay-per-view or Collision is getting shortened or moved because of we're getting a normal Collision on Saturday. We're getting a normal live 2-hour Collision on Saturday from 8 to 10. So why the hell did Dynamite last night have to be 3 hours? What was the point of that? If we're getting a normal live Collision on Saturday, first time Collision's back at its normal time and for cool. So why did we have to get the 3 hours last night? And again, the show was good. It doesn't make sense. And more importantly, last night I thought they did a better job because they had a really good main event to main event Dynamite with Mark Davis and Jungle Jack Perry, which we'll get to. But I also think that they had a really good main event to end the show with the ladies doing the lights out match. So, but I also feel like the 3 hour shows, I understand if you want to separate it to Dynamite and Collision, whether that's contractual or not, whatever, you got to book the shows more cohesively. Just view it as a 3 hour show. Now, last night I thought they did a good job because, in my opinion, the biggest match on the show last night was Statlander versus Sheeta. So I felt like that ending the show was the right call. But the week before, I was in attendance last week. At 9:40, you have a world title match with Darby Allin and Speedball, which was a great match. And then you want people to stay as energized and as hyped for an hour more of wrestling that is less important than a world title match. That's hard to do. So if you want to do these 3 hour shows, that's fine, but book it in a way that last week, Darby and Speedball should have went on at 10:40. If you want to say it's on Collision, okay, then the main event of Collision was the world title match. That's how I feel. Like you're booking your shows that like your biggest match of the show happens at the end of Dynamite, and then you want everyone to still stay for another hour and watch less important things. Now, someone like me who loves pro wrestling, I'm going to sit and watch the show. You have me. I'm talking about the average, whatever. I just think there needs to be a little bit of an adjustment. That's all. But all right, let's dive into Dynamite. We started off with something that I loved, guys. It's back. We get a video from Sunday after the pay-per-view. Renee is backstage. She's with Will. She's asking him about his victory over Samoa Joe, which was my favorite match on that pay-per-view. I loved that whole pay-per-view. Was an all-timer, like just one of the best wrestling pay-per-views of all time, but just tremendous. Double or Nothing. It was unbelievable, that whole pay-per-view. But Samoa Joe and Will, I fucking loved that match. And she catches up with Will. She's asking him about his victory over Samoa Joe. He says he's feeling good. He's going to get some ice for his arm. And when he walks into the trainer's room, Kenny Omega is sitting in the trainer's room. Omega kind of hands him the ice, and he goes, "Hey, you got a minute? Can we talk?" And he starts questioning Will's alliance with the Death Riders. He tells him how he feels about it. He goes, "You can't trust him." He goes, "I would do anything to help you out. Why didn't you just ask me?" And then Will kind of calls Kenny out. And Will says, "Hey, man, all due respect, you're not here. You're not here, man." And then Kenny says he can't be here every week. And Will goes, "Why not?" Which I liked. I liked Will pressuring like Kenny, like, "Hey, man, you're not around, dude." And then Kenny says, "Well, I don't bounce back like I used to with everything that's happened to me. I can't just bounce back like I used to in my younger days." He's like, "It's not just physical, it's emotional, it's mental. I'm not the guy that I once was." He goes, "But if we stick together, there's no limit to what we can accomplish, what we can do." And he goes, "And I get the appeal of the Death Riders." He goes, "They're serious. They get things done." He goes, "But you can't trust them, man." And then all of a sudden, walking in from out of frame, Jon Moxley. Oh, I loved it. I loved it because Moxley and Omega clearly have a strong history. That feud they had when Moxley first got there, and I loved it. And Moxley says, he goes, "Hey, it's good advice." He goes, "We do all have our skeletons." And he's staring right at Kenny. He gives Will ice. He says, "The truck's outside." "Yo, what's going on, brother? How we doing, man?" He goes, "Truck's outside, man." And Moxley leaves. And then Omega says, "Hey, I'll leave you to do whatever you and the Death Riders are going to do." He goes, "Neck bridges, whatever." He goes, "But if you need me, all you got to do is call." And that was it. So I really enjoyed this. The those three guys on screen at once, it's like, goddamn, look at those three. Like, that's like, that's like the two guys and Will, who's the future guy, and it was just like, holy crap, man. I loved it. I love the callback to Kenny and Moxley and their history. I loved everything about it. I'm just digging the Death Riders story with Will. I'm digging it a lot. I think this is one of my favorite things on AEW currently. I just love it. Then we get to the arena, and the AEW TNT champion, Kevin Knight, makes his entrance. And boy, did that turn at the end of the pay-per-view. That went over well because this guy was getting heat. He was getting heat. Fuck you, Kevin chants from the jump. He says, I shouldn't have expected anything less from these meathead fans in Philly. That is a true statement. He is a heel, but sometimes he'll spit facts. You shouldn't expect anything less. They are repulsive people. He goes, all everyone has asked me since Sunday is why. Then Philly starts chanting, shut the fuck up to him. He goes, hey, I'm the TNT champion. I demand some respect. He goes, I told Darby Allin not to let me or the fans down. And he goes, and he blew it. Then they start calling him an asshole, all this stuff. And then he made a dig at the Sixers, which I can't speak to, except because the Knicks are trash as well. But he said, yeah, he goes, I didn't blow it. He goes, just like the Philadelphia 76ers, Darby blew it. And the crowd obviously takes it to another level. Once you start talking about the sports teams, it goes up higher. And he goes, I decided I'm not going to trust he goes, I decided I'm not going to trust the process anymore. Another 76ers dig. He goes, I'm going to take matters into my own hands. He goes, and let's be real. Who was the last person who left MJF looking at the lights? Me. He says, it was me. He goes, I should have been in the main event Sunday, but instead I was watching from the sidelines. Second round technically this year because they decided to actually play good basketball for 4 games and beat my Celtics, who my coach won Coach of the Year the other day, still should be fired. Anyway, but I digress. He goes, Philly, do I look like a bench player to you? He goes, do I look like a bench player to you? And the fans obviously chant yes. He goes, I'm a highlight every time I step into the ring. He goes, and soon enough, I'm going to leave Darby in a pool of his own blood. And then that calls in his tag partner, Speedball Mike Bailey. The outfit on Mike Bailey, he had like a tan suit on, but it was kind of wrapped like a gi. Like it had like you know what I mean? Like that wrapping, if it was like a gi type thing, but it was a suit. It was very, I never seen anything. It fit Speedball perfectly, but I had never seen a suit like that before. Speedball comes out. He says, Kevin, I know you. I know you get ahead of yourself and you make mistakes sometimes. He goes, what you did to Darby at Double or Nothing was a mistake. He goes, but if you own up to it and you apologize, we can make things right. And he offers out his hand for a handshake. Knight gives him the cold shoulder and walks past him. And then he turns around and he takes out Speedball and he drops him. And that's how the segment ends, with Kevin Knight taking out Speedball. Jet Speed officially done. Listen, we knew these guys weren't going to stay together forever. They were a great tag team. I would have liked to see them do a little bit more with the tag titles. Great tag team, great way to introduce these two guys into the company. But if you knew, you knew before they were even Jet Speed. These guys are solo stars. The top of the card is crowded right now, but in the next year, these guys are so good, they're going to get up there if they're not already up there. But like in the next, year or 2, 3, 4, when some of the older guys, they start taking different, these guys are 2 of the guys. Kyle Fletcher, these 2. It's just, but officially the end of Jet Speed, as Kevin Knight also attacked Speedball, turned on his partner. So that's that. We had Renee backstage with the Demand. We're still doing this Ricochet Jericho thing for like 4 months. Great. All right. Ricochet says he's not concerned about anything to do with Jericho anymore. He goes, Jericho got lucky at Double or Nothing. He only won because they mugged Bishop Khan 7-1. He goes, it's a travesty that his guys are banned from ringside tonight. But the more he thinks about it, the more he knows that this means Chris doesn't have his guys to back him up either. So tonight, Jericho will find out what everybody else already knows, that he's Ricochet, and he is simply out of this world. And then we get Chris Jericho versus Ricochet. Everybody is banned from ringside. I'm assuming and hoping this was the last one. It was cool when it started. That was like 3.5 months ago, bro. What the hell are we still doing? Why is this still a thing? Again, I thought the match was all right. I didn't think it was a bad match. It went about 6 to 8 minutes too long. But I thought all in all, it was a pretty good match with Jericho and Ricochet. There's, nothing new here, you know. They had a good spot with the walls of Jericho on the announce desk, which I thought was a cool looking spot. Jericho hit a Death Valley driver on the apron, which was cool. But at the end of it, they're going back and forth. Ricochet, Aubrey Edwards isn't looking. Ricochet hits a low blow. He hits a Rico salt. Jericho kicks out, though. Then Ricochet misses the 630. Jericho hits a code breaker, but Ricochet kicks out. Then he lands the Judas effect. There is no cover, though. Chris points to the ropes. He does a very not good lion salt. Listen, I am not as hard on Jericho as a lot of people are. He's one of the all-time greats. He's the top 5 guy for me ever. At some point, you got to move on for things you can't do. And that's just the way it's just the way the beast goes, baby. I can't go out. I can throw down a good one every so often, but I can't go out on a Friday, Saturday night and do what I was doing when I was 25 because I'm not 25 anymore, Chris. Things happen. At some point, you got to let the lion salt go. You got to let it go. We know it's an iconic move. It's one that is synonymous with you. Anytime anybody does anything like it, we're going to say, hey, that's a lion salt, Jericho. You just got to let it go, Chris. It's just not in the arsenal anymore. That's okay. But he hits a lion salt barely, and he gets the pinfall. 1, 2, 3. Now, I was saying I was hoping this was the end with Ricochet and Jericho. I don't like the idea of Ricochet losing a feud to Chris Jericho. I just don't think that makes much sense. But what happens after this match, I'm okay with, but I'm also okay. I'm very more not okay with this person probably ending up losing to Chris Jericho in a feud. And that is Jericho gets attacked by Tommaso Ciampa. Beats the shit out of him. Takes his t-shirt off. He's choking Jericho. Takes down the knee brace. Hits the knee trembler. And then he does the call back to the foot on the chest and the flex pin that Jericho used to do all the time. Ciampa kind of does that over Jericho. So we're going into a Ciampa-Jericho feud. Again, don't hate the matchup, but Tommaso Ciampa should not be losing to Chris Jericho. Period. End of story. This should not be happening. And if this is just another guy that you're going to throw so Jericho can have a 3-match, 3-month feud with, or 2-month feud with, and Jericho wins the feud, that does no service to anybody. And I'm not anti-Jericho. I like Jericho. Well, I like Jericho on the screen. Like I don't hate that Jericho's on the TV show. But Ricochet shouldn't have lost to Jericho. Tommaso Ciampa should not be losing a feud to Chris Jericho, period. In 2026, what the fuck does that do for anybody? Because you just brought Ciampa here 3 months ago. He won a title, his first match. His presentation is off the charts. You've put him in big-time spots. How he's not in the Owen tournament, I don't fucking know. But you've put him in big-time spots, and now you're gonna feed him to Jericho so a 55-year-old man can beat him twice. It doesn't make sense. What does Jericho gain from that? And Ciampa loses from it. Because if Ricochet's in his 30s, the fuck is he losing to a 55-year-old man for? Who can't even do his finisher move anymore? It makes no sense. Gargano is under contract. So that is a pipe dream. Gargano's on SmackDown every Friday. What do you think? He's just going to show up? You can't just do that. He's on SmackDown literally every Friday, and he is under WWE contract for a while. That's not happening in the next 2 months when this feud is going to happen. Ciampa is just going to end up losing a feud to Chris Jericho, and it's going to be stupid. And again, not an anti-Jericho take. But will Gargano eventually maybe end up in AEW and DIY is over there? Sure. But, like, he's under contract, guys. It's not happening until way down the line. So I understand that's what we want, and I would want it too. I want everyone to go to AEW because the other place ain't really doing it for me. So I want everybody to go to AEW. But and again, we mentioned it earlier a little bit, which we'll dive into. I don't need more guys showing up in AEW when you can't even book your fucking women. So how about you book your fucking women and make them an actual point of your television product, and then you can bring more people in. So that's how I view it. That's how I view it. So that's just me. The women got the main event last night, and I thought they did very well. The match started really slow. We're going to get to it, but I thought that main event was deserving of that spot. But you can't even book all your women. You can't even book all your women. So why are we talking about signing more people when you have 40 plus women on your roster and we see 4 of them a week for like 15 minutes total if we're fucking lucky? So I don't want to hear anybody else going, besides like Motor City and the New Day, those big ones that we know are probably going to happen. I don't want to hear anybody else talking about AEW needs to sign people. No, they don't. They need to book the people they already fucking have, specifically the women. Specifically the women. But anyway, I digress. Andrade El Idolo cuts a backstage promo going at Max. So I personally would like, I know we got something else a little later. I would like Andrade to be a decent feud for Max here. A decent feud. I think that would be really good. We'll see where it goes. One thing I do appreciate about Max, and we're kind of going to talk about it as we layer through the rest of the show, is his previous title reign and already immediately within the first days of this one, he always has multiple people going after him because he's the most hated guy in the company because he's a piece of shit. And I appreciate that about Max. You know, Darby was fighting a bunch of different guys for the title, but Max was really the only guy going after Darby. You know what I mean? But he was just fighting everyone. Max always has multiple guys going at him. He's got Andrade going after him. We see later on in the evening, there's a backstage thing with him and Kevin Knight where Max is like, hey, man, I appreciate what you did. You came to your senses. You're a smart kid. I know. Oh, here comes Lou. You're a smart kid. I know you're going to be great, blah, 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 blah. And then Kevin Knight goes, no, I didn't do that for you, man. I did that for me, and one day I'm coming for that. You know, and then Max later on, they set up a match for next week with Roosh and him for the title. Max always has multiple people going after him, and I appreciate that because he's the world champ. Multiple people should be going after the world title. Why is it always just got to be one person going for it? There should be multiple guys that are like, I'm interested in that. Yeah. So Andrade, cuts a promo. He says, now that Stadium Stampede is over, I'm going to focus on winning the world title. He asks MJF if he's better than a real Latino man, and then takes his glasses off and says, how you know? And that's how that ends. Then we have ourselves a Superstation Showcase 4-way. Brian Cage, Orange Cassidy, Roosh, and Lio Rush. And let me tell you, I'm very happy that Lio Rush was inserted in this match. He is doing some, I don't know what the fuck is going on with that character, but I am in on that character. He is doing some great, great, great work with this character. It is very different. He is committed to it. And I'm glad that he was in this match and not just, the matches he's been doing has been his opponent is kind of creeped out, but then they just really squash him for the most part. Not everyone, but a lot of them. This one was a legitimate match for Lio Rush in this four-way, even though he was this crazy character. So it was good to see him here. This match was really good. As you would expect, multi-man, multi-woman match. AEW just perfection when they book them. It was really, really good, back and forth. I did see that main event. Yeah, because I'm telling you, AEW, they have an opportunity here because there are people that are not thrilled with the other side because the other side has clearly phoned it in from a creative standpoint. Saturday night's main event, I know it was in your neck of the woods. It was a good show. Like the matches were good. It was wrestling heavy, wrestling based, which made it feel like a good show. But it was a mid card. Like it was a mid card with a flat finish that nobody gave a shit about. It was just mid. It was an enjoyable show, but it was mid. And now we have a pay-per-view next week that the build's mid. Even though like Cody and Gunther, looking forward to it. Tribal Combat, looking forward to it. Soul and Becky, looking forward to it. Like, it's probably going to be a pretty good show. I thought Backlash was a strong show, but creatively, they are not where they need to be. And AEW is consistently putting on better shows. Consistently. And they just need to stay the course and keep doing it. And I think if they keep doing it and staying on this trajectory, they'll take people. Mick Foley also is part of that. Because Mick Foley is a beloved dude. And people will go where Mick Foley goes. Oh, Mick Foley's going to be on Double or Nothing? All right, I'm going to check that out. I haven't watched wrestling. And there were people saying they hadn't watched wrestling in 10, 15 years, but they heard Mick Foley was going to be there, so they tuned it on. And if they tuned it on and they kept it on, they got an all-time wrestling experience. Those matches, that pay-per-view, all-time. All-time great. So, I feel like there's an opportunity for them to really build on this. And if you have a hot summer and you build on it, and then somewhere during the summer you get the New Day to show up, brother, let me tell you. But this four-way was really, really good. Jake Doyle. So, okay. We get about halfway through the match or so. They're hitting all their shit. Orange Cassidy hits a suicide dive to the floor on Brian Cage. And then Rocky Romero and Lance Archer show up from the crowd. Orange Cassidy goes for an orange punch, but Lance Archer blocks it. And then from behind, Jake Doyle comes out, which is way early. I thought he was going to be gone for way longer than that. Jake Doyle comes out and attacks Orange Cassidy. Roderick Strong then comes out to cut him off, but the Don Callis family get the better of Roddy, and they just take Orange Cassidy to the back. And Brian Cage kind of goes with them. So Brian Cage and Orange Cassidy literally just end up kind of leaving this match, which leaves Roosh and Lio Rush. And I actually thought that I thought Roosh was going to win this match, like going into it. And this made sense that it was him and Lio Rush as the last two. Lio Rush hung around for a few minutes, kind of running around and scampering around and stuff. But Roosh gets the better end. He hits El Toro Blanco. He goes under the ring. He gets a cable. He chokes Lio with it. And then he hits the horns in the corner, pins Lio Rush. And that's how that goes. So a good win for Roosh, a showcase match. He gets the big victory. He's been talking about wanting to win the world title. Made sense to me. I'm intrigued to see more of this Lio Rush character moving forward. We then got the thing with Kevin Knight and Max that I talked about. Max thanks Kevin for showing respect to the biggest draw in the company by attacking Darby for him. He thinks he's got a bright future and he'll see him around. Kevin Knight basically says, don't get it twisted. I didn't do it for you. I did it because Darby blew an opportunity that should have been mine. He goes, I'll be coming for that title. And then MJF is like, yeah, I'll kind of see you around. I'll see you around. And that's it. And then Kevin Knight runs into Kyle Fletcher, who also made his return at the pay-per-view, also early. I did not expect it, but good to see him back. Looks great, as always. He runs into Kyle Fletcher. They kind of square up with each other. Don Callis appears. He talks about how athletic they are. This is the future. He goes, but Kevin, if you want to get serious about what it is, Jet 2 belts, give him a call. And then we get a Mark Briscoe hype reel. And then we go to break. We come back from break, and Renee Paquette is in the back with the Brawling Birds, who I love, the Brawling Birds. She says, Jamie Hayter, valiant effort at the pay-per-view, but you came up short in the world title match. And Hayter says, yeah. She goes, I take solace in having taken Tekla's head off on Sunday. And she says, next time I'll do it with the title. And then Winsler comes up. She says her heart goes out to Willow. And when she's good to fight, she'd love to throw down. That was a match I was looking forward to a lot, Windsor and Willow. It's a bummer about Willow in general, but damn, I wanted to see that match. But Windsor says, as far as the wild card goes, I've been preparing for this moment her whole career. She goes, getting the piss beaten out of her every week, and now she's going to prove that she's one of the best in the world. And she says, and that path ends where it started, in her home. It's a path she's not walked alone because her darling Billy is chasing his Wembley dream, same as she is. So they mentioned it. So the Willow thing, I think, kind of threw this whole bracket into a flux. Now I do think there is a possibility that we do get that photo at All In with both Will and Windsor with the titles in their home country. I do think that would be a visual and a very cool moment. And the fact that she mentioned it, that throws it out there now. Like, hey, that's a possibility. They wouldn't have mentioned it if they weren't thinking about it, in my opinion. So she says, he's chasing the same dream I am. So she says, whoever the wild card is, she better have a skin in the game because my whole heart is in it. That's what she says. And then Jamie Hayter says, one way or another, the Birds are going to come out on top. And I think that was also foreshadowing, saying, well, if Windsor doesn't make it to the finals, then guess what? We're going to win the tag titles that night. That's kind of what that is. I think it's either her or Britt. I would say Mercedes. I think the stories line up that way. I know I wasn't here to talk last week about the Willow stuff. I was there live when the announcement was made. It sucks. Mercedes is looking, and I know people are going to say, well, it's obvious, blah, 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 but Mercedes is, it has, this women's bracket was lacking star power to begin with, in my opinion. Willow is a star. Athena is a star. I like Alex Windsor. I like Mina, but those aren't top stars yet. Those two, they're good, but they're not top stars. Willow and Athena, and I would make an argument that on AEW, not Athena, just in general Athena, Willow was the top star in that bracket. And in my opinion, she was making it to the finals minimum. Now she's gone. So I feel like, no offense to any of the, talent, whatever, but if you throw someone like Julia Hart in there, that is not going to do it. It's not going to do it. Like, it needs to be somebody that is huge. It needs to outlive. You got to knock it out of the park with that. And I feel like there are two names that do that, and it's Britt Baker or Mercedes Moné. Now, if it is Mercedes to me has to win the tournament again. And then I think she's a babyface winning the title at All In against Tekla. Because I've always said that Mercedes will win the AEW women's title for the first time whenever that happens as a babyface. She will not be a heel. She will be a babyface when she wins it. And I think this is an easy way for her to be a babyface, to win it at All In. If it is Britt Baker or somebody else, Ruby Soho, I think it will. She's been broken down. She's at her bottom. Needs to come back and win the Owen to prove to herself. Even as a heel, she's over, dude. Like, she gets cheated. Like, it'll work. It'll work. Well, that's because WWE doesn't know how to book baby faces. They haven't for 15 fucking years. So they're in the process of ruining Obafemi. I don't know if you've caught that, but they're in the process of ruining him. So they ruined Braun Breaker. They haven't known. They ruined Cody Rhodes. They are 100% in the they have not been able to book a consistently strong babyface for my whole adult life. So it is what it is. Their baby faces continually look like morons. Obafemi's going to lose to Brock Lesnar on Sunday. And it's going to be one of the dumbest decisions they've ever made. But I digress. We're here to talk about AEW. Yeah, so I think it should be Mercedes. You got that first round, that history with Alex Windsor. If she makes it to the second round, there's a history with Persephone there, if Persephone makes it through. And then if she makes it to the final and she's going against Athena, story writes itself. So I feel like Mercedes is the one that if it's there, the writing is just on the wall. It's just on the wall. All right, where was I? Yeah, that just happened. So now it's time for the Maxwell Jacob Friedman celebration. He makes his entrance. He was carried to his entrance by a gentleman. He says he starts getting booed immediately. He says, if I wanted to hear a bunch of people from Philly make noise, I would have made the mistake of being born here, so simmer down. He goes, I finally have my title back. He goes, if you're wondering where Darby is, he's at home in shame because he got beaten for the third time by a maneuver as simple as a headlock takeover. He goes, wrestling's been around since the 1800s, and in that time, only 8 men have been 3-time world champion by 30. So they're going to be writing about me in the history books. He goes, I'm a 3-time champion. I'm the best wrestler in the world, the most complete wrestler in the world. Number 1, ain't nobody close. I'm a generational talent, and now is the part where the fans need to do the right thing. I want everyone watching at home and in this podunk arena to get down on hand and knee and bow before the greatest of all time. And then a new banner comes down, and then we get Mark Briscoe. I like Mark Briscoe. Nope. We've seen Mark and MJF enough. And I know it's been a little bit. I don't hate Mark Briscoe getting a world title shot. He's not going to win it. I don't hate him getting a world title shot. I just feel like there could have been other guys that could have been the first guy here instead of Briscoe. And I'm very pro Briscoe. He tears the banner down. He says, I'm looking at Friedman standing in. He's like a stranger in a strange place. He goes, you're saying I don't fit in. It's kind of like the penguins wandering through the desert. And he's talking about a bunch of stuff. And Max is like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. He goes, the people here are hard-nosed grinders. Some of the toughest people on the planet live right here. He goes, you stick out like a sore thumb because tough you are not. He goes, you're so self-absorbed that, it looks like you know that the world deserves to be yours. You say we're not on your level. You believe you're better than us, and we know it. And you believe that with all your heart. He goes, but I want to remind you, it wasn't too long ago that I pinned your sorry ass 1, 2, 3 right in the middle of this ring. He goes, so I'm not going to beat around the bush. I want a title shot. And he goes, so are you going to continue to be a soft little bitch, or are you going to man up? Max says no, as you would expect. He goes, I'm not saying no because you ruined my new banner. He goes, I'm saying no because I understand AEW just isn't a sport. It's a business. And he goes, and optically speaking, he goes, it was one thing that an emo freak like Darby Allin sniffed this world title. And you think it's a good idea for you? He goes, it's not a good idea. He goes, if you challenge for the title, I'd probably it probably would put this company out of business. So I'm doing you a favor. There's levels to this business, and unfortunately for a white trash redneck, Mark is nowhere near the level of the devil. Max then leaves. He's waving goodbye at Briscoe, and then we hear Rush's music. Rush comes through the entrance. He confronts Max. He says, you're not a fighting champion. He goes, it's so funny that Briscoe is a chicken farmer, but I'm looking at you, Max, and you're a chicken shit. Good line by Rush. He goes, I've beaten you before, and you know when you mess with the bull, you get the horns. And then Max leaning into the heel shtick. He goes, do you think you're cool because you're bilingual? And he goes, you're not the only one who can speak multiple language, so listen up, senor. He goes, if anyone's earned a title shot, it is you. He goes, and from a business standpoint, Roosh, you got a good look, you got good hair, you've been winning matches, you got a catchphrase that people seem to like. He goes, you're definitely more marketable than that ugly piece of shit in the ring. That's an exact quote, by the way, by MJF. He goes, and then he asked the crowd, he goes, you want to see Roosh wrestle me in Philly? The crowd goes nuts. Roosh is trying to hype him up. And Max goes, psych. He goes, next week, he goes, you best come prepared because the bull is going to lock horns with the devil. So next week we get a world title match, MJF on Dynamite, which is nice. MJF versus Roosh. That should be very good. We get a quick promo from Jurassic Express on the bus where Jack Perry is cutting a promo on Mark Davis, saying this might be the beginning of your championship tour. If you don't like it, fuck you, he said. Jack says he's not doing it. He has a match to win. He cracks a few eggs into a glass. We get like a Rocky montage in Philly, which I thought was funny. He's running the Rocky route up and down the steps. And I thought it was very funny that he made Luchasaurus drink the raw eggs instead of him doing it. That was good. Yeah, so we have that. Then we had quarterfinal match, the first one of the evening on the men's side. Brody King and Claudio Castagnoli. These guys beat the absolute shit out of each. It was just blow after blow after blow. They were just haymakers, clotheslines. It was just a very physical match where they would just there was collar and elbow to start it and stuff like that, but chops, punches, clotheslines, backhands. It was just a brutal, brutal affair, as you would expect from these guys. I enjoyed this match. They went to the floor multiple times. They were hitting each other with uppercuts. Claudio hit the push-up uppercut that he does. Oh boy, we got a real visitor now. He's coming. Oh boy. Yeah, this was really good back and forth. They beat the crap out of each other. Towards the end of the match, Claudio's hitting a couple uppercuts and lariats. And he goes for a springboard lariat, but Brody King hits him with an elbow. Hey, I'm doing a show here, pal. And then he hits the Swiss Death. King fires back with a lariat, and then he kind of falls into the pin, and Brody King wins with a lariat, and Brody King advances. So it'll be Brody King in Swerve on the right side of the bracket in the Owen tournament. Sorry, guys. My cat is just... You can see his face in the corner right here. He's just being needy. This is Lou. That's Lou. Lou came in for his morning pets. So that's who he is. That is Lou. He is the king of the show. He is the star of the show. He always is. Yeah, buddy, aren't you? Yeah. This is my only day off of the week with Lou. So it's just him and I on Thursdays. So he gets a lot of Joe time on Thursdays. So he was like, "Hey, man." So that was that. I thought this was a good match. It's really like there weren't a lot of high spots in this match. It was literally just them two just repeatedly beating the shit out of each other. And I loved it. We come back from commercial after that. 100%. 100%. Adam Copeland and Christian Cage make their way to the ring. They get You Deserve It chance. They are the new AEW Tag Team Champions. They had a great I Quit match to start that pay-per-view on Sunday. Cage tells Philadelphia to sit down and shut their mouths. And Copeland's like, whoa, hey, man, what are you doing, dude? Like, we're not doing that. And Christian's like, what do you mean? What am I doing that's so bad? He goes, it's not like I banged any of their moms. He goes, or maybe I did. And Copeland starts going, yeah, the 90s were crazy, so maybe you did. Maybe you did. But he goes, I know FTR, Christian says, I know FTR are staring at their TVs with their beady little eyes, waiting to find out what I'm going to say. And he goes, and I will say, you were the toughest, best tag team we've ever been in the ring with. You brought out the best of me and Adam. And you are definitely top guys. You're just not at the tippy top. And they raise the tag belts. Copeland says the FTR decided to agree to the I Quit match. And we'd never wrestle again. They were retired for 16 total years between the two of them, who they were both told they could never wrestle again, and they didn't want to give up their careers. But now it's time to live in the moment and have some fun. So they're going to do something they haven't done in 25 years. He goes, and that's not just whole tag team gold. He goes, you know what, Philly, for the benefit of those with flash photography, we're going to hit a 5-second pose. And then Christian immediately goes, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I know. See, he's so needy. Stop petting him for 5 seconds, and he like leans in like, hey, dude. This is what I'm dealing with right now. You see this? This is what I'm dealing with right now. How am I supposed to chip with that type of stuff going on, Doug? How am I supposed to chip? So they're going to do a 5-second pose. And as they set up for it, the dogs attack from behind. They lay the champs out. They beat... Christian's arm is never going to heal because his arm is getting destroyed on a show-by-show basis. That thing is never going to heal. That arm's going to be broken for years. They place his injured forearm on the steps. They hold his arm in place. David Finlay smashes it with the shillelagh a few times, and then they put his arm underneath the steps. And Clark Connors goes to the other side of the apron, and he runs across and does a double stomp on top of the steps that crushes his arm. Just a gnarly-looking spot, a great-looking spot. But yeah, Christian's arm is just going to be ruined. But they throw him back inside. Copeland, where the hell does my cat go? He's causing a ruckus now. Copeland and Christian are laid out, and David Finlay smashes Christian over the head for good measure with the shillelagh. They're laid out, and Finlay grabs a photographer. Oh, one part of the early stuff is, I thought it was funny because I'm old. Adam Copeland goes under the ring, and he pulled out a bag of disposable cameras. And he goes, for anybody here that's under 25, all you got to do is you got to make sure the flash is on. You got to twist it. And he's like telling people how to use a disposable camera, because I didn't even know they still existed. But back in the day, y'all, for you youngins, we used to take pictures on vacations or things, and we didn't know they were good pictures until like 2 weeks later when we got the shit filmed, when we got it done. You'd have to go to a place. You'd have to get the pictures print, like, picturized. I forget the word because it's been so long. And you didn't know. You could have taken 100 pictures, and 40 of them could have been dog shit. And you didn't know until you already paid the person to make your pictures. And you'd be like, oh, that one came out shitty? Damn. That's how life used to be. Everyone's got it easy now. But anyway, so they grab a photographer, and then Finlay and Connors do a 5-second pose over the laid out tag champs. So it looks like we're getting the dogs and Copeland and Christian here for their first little title defense. Okay. I would be way more effective if the dogs actually won anything they were ever in. That would be a lot more effective for me because they never fucking win anything. So why should I take them seriously? But regardless. Backstage, we got Prince Nana and Swerve. Nana says, we saw what Swerve did to Bandito, and now Brody King wants to step back into the picture for some smoke. Well, I got news for you. Swerve has taken the Owen. He's going back to Wembley Stadium in the main event. And then Swerve congratulates Brody on the win. He says, seeing him successful gives me a warm, sweet feeling because I broke King. He goes, I broke you out in 2017, and nobody would know your name without me. He goes, Bandito's probably in the hospital. I don't know. I don't care. But millions of people saw it. And one thing I've learned is the conflict creates cash. War makes money. And I'm going to make a lot of money with Brody King. So that was that. Then we had a squash match. Allie Ketch, though, again, and Ava Everett, but Allie Ketch on AEW 2 weeks in a row. Ty J comes out. This was literally a 2-minute match. This did nothing for anybody. The crowd didn't give a shit. I didn't give a shit. I thought it would have been way better for Ty J to just have a normal tag match. They couldn't have beat Zeta Steel and Viva Van for 8 minutes. You couldn't have given them an 8 or 10-minute match and they just win a good tag match and get a win. What did this do for anybody? The answer is fucking nothing. It did nothing for anybody. But that was that. Speedball's backstage. He cuts a promo. He says Kevin made his choice, and we'll walk that road on opposite sides. And he challenges Kevin to a singles match. We find out later on in the evening that next week we are going to have a TNT title match as well. Kevin Knight and Speedball. That's going to be unbelievable. Then we get the second Owen Hart quarterfinal match in the men's tournament. It's Jack Perry and Dunkzilla. This was the official main event of the Dynamite portion. This was a very good match. Mark Davis is excellent. He's just so good. He started this match off with an eye patch, which I didn't know I could like Mark Davis better, but I liked him better with the eye patch. But at one point, Jack Perry took it and he started wearing it, which was pretty cool. There was a gnarly spot where Mark Davis put Jack Perry on the apron, and he puts him on the apron so hard that Jack's shoes popped off. That was a really neat sequence there. So he was kind of like bombed out of his shoes a little bit. Then we come back. There's a good avalanche DDT. Mark Davis hits a good enziguri off the ropes. There's a Hurricane Rana. They're trading pinning stuff. Jack hits a super kick, and then he hits a massive pile driver on Mark Davis, which was excellent. Jack Perry showing off some power, getting Davis up for that pile driver, but Mark Davis kicked out. Jack hits the snare trap, and it looks like Davis is going to tap, but he gets to the ropes. They break it. He hits a running knee. Mark counters it with the power bomb. He throws him off the ropes to a vicious lariat, but Jack kicks out. They're going back and forth some more. They go to the second rope. Paul Turner's kind of yelling at them to get down. Jungle Man. I can't call him Jungle Man. Jack Perry hits a drop kick. He goes to the top. Jack slips off the ropes. And then Mark Davis lifts him up, and he hits a avalanche close your eyes and count pile driver from the top rope, and he gets the victory. And Mark Davis moves on, and he will face Will Ospreay in the semifinals. So we are down to the final four on the men's side. Then we kind of do the flip over to Collision. Don Callis is in the ring with Renee and Mark Davis. Callis tells Ospreay that he hopes he was watching because next week that match is happening also. He says Davis is going to put him on the shelf. Goes, I know you will. I know you better than my own brother. You were in the Callis family. I thought you were the chosen one, but you never were. And you know who else was never the chosen one? Konosuke Takeshita. He goes, the only chosen one in the family has been none other than Kyle, by God, Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher comes out accompanied by Rocky Romero. Fletcher gets in the ring. They hug. Him and Callis hug. He goes, I want to talk about the elephant. This is Kyle talking now. He says, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, how I came back from such a catastrophic injury in record time. This is a complete lie, by the way. He says, I broke my leg in 2 places and tore my meniscus, and I'm back in under 2 months. I knew he tore his meniscus. They never mentioned a broken leg, so maybe that was true. They just didn't mention it. But I never heard about a broken leg. So I don't know if that's them just trying to, like, up the severity of the injury to further the Kyle coming back early thing. I only heard the meniscus. Still early, though, that he's back, but, you know. But he says the answer is because I'm a genetic anomaly, and as of today, I'm 100% cleared for in-ring competition, so that's awesome news. He goes, but there was one more driving factor that pushed me to go harder and harder every single day to get healthy, and that's I wanted to be the man to cut loose the dead weight of the Don Callis family. He said, I've been trying to hold this family together for the better part of a year while Takeshita has tried to drive a wedge between it. He goes, the second I was out of the way, Takeshita did what he always does, what's best for him. He said, Konosuke never cared about the family. He never cared about me. The sad thing is, he really wanted to sit atop of the wrestling world beside him. Proto Shida running the whole world. He says, but now that's never going to happen because Takeshita is a selfish prick. And then Takeshita comes out, and he has the conglomeration come out with him. I thought that was odd. I mean, fine. I guess he needs people to help with the Callis family, the conglomerate. I don't think this was like, these are my friends. I think this was, hey, there's 1 million of them. Now there's only one of me. You guys hate them. You're feuding with them. Yeah. So I don't think Takeshita's with the conglomeration. That wouldn't make any sense at all. I don't think that's what this is. I just think, hey, an enemy. What is it? An enemy of my enemy is my friend. I think that's what this is. So they go down there. The Don Callis family flees like the bitches they are. And then Takeshita gets on the mic. He says, I got the international championship back. He gets you deserve it chance. And then he says, Kyle Fletcher, I want you. I want a match. And he holds up the title. So obviously Fletcher and Takeshita is the route. And by God, that is going to feed me and families. That is going to be fucking unbelievable. Will Ospreay's backstage. He says, cuts a promo about Mark Davis. He says, you beat me with the doctor stoppage when I was at 50%, and that's never sat well with me. Now I'm at 100%, and nothing is stopping me from getting to Wembley. The Death Riders roll up. John Moxley gives him a fist bump. And then this was funny. Ospreay offers a fist bump. Wheeler Yuta accepts it, but Pac leaves him hanging because Pac just hates Will Ospreay. I thought that was very funny. And then we have ourselves a nice little six-man. It was Moxley, Pac, and Will Ospreay against the Rascals. This was a short match, but this was a fun match. The Rascals are great. Can we get them to the trios titles? Can we get them to the trios? Well, the women main evented, Eric. Can we get to the trios titles for the Rascals? Just start focusing on the trios titles, please. This was really, really good back and forth. I thought the Rascals looked really great in this match. They got a lot of offense. I think those three guys, I mean, that's a super team over there we're talking about with Ospreay, Moxley, and Pac. The fact that the Rascals looked this good in this match and got this much offense was good. They go back and forth. And Myron Reed ends up getting submitted with the death ground from Ospreay at the end of this match. And it was a good match. You should check it out. Then we get a backstage promo from the Ops, and Samoa Joe, who just came back, literally just came back, says there are obstacles out of the way, and I get my men opportunities. He goes, but I have to step away for a few months since Hollywood is calling. I assume he's doing like season 3 of Twisted Metal. Fine. But why did you bring him back? He was back for a month, for crying out loud. Damn it. I love Samoa Joe. He goes, but you guys know how this works. I expect you to hold them down. They all shake hands. They embrace. And Hook looks like he's a little like, okay, I'll step in the middle again as the leader. But Anthony Bowens was going for the same spot that Hook was going, and they kind of brushed. And Hook looked like he really didn't want to be that guy. And Bowens was kind of looking at Hook like, hey, man, maybe me. So I'm interested in where that's going to go, because it looked like there was some, not dissension, but uncertainty amongst the leaders in the group now that Joe was gone. Looked like Hook is like, okay, I guess I'm the leader again, but didn't really, in his facial expression, doesn't want to be that guy. And then Bowens was kind of sliding in there like, oh, this is my cue. Oh, what the hell is this guy? I'm interested. Statlander cuts a promo. We have the main event of the evening coming up. She cuts a promo. Again, I'm very excited that this was the main event. I'm very excited about this feud with Shida and Statlander. I hated the fact that they are considering this was a fatal 4-way for the women's world title. And Chris Statlander was about to win the world title in a match that Hikaru Shida was in. So Hikaru Shida broke up the pinfall with a kendo stick shot. Why is that her turning heel? Is that her trying to not lose a match? How is that the thing? Is it because it was should she have just shoved her off the pin? Should she have just let Statlander win the title right in front of her? How is that the heel turn? That does not make sense to me. She was doing what she was trying to do to win the fucking match she's in and win the title. How is that a heel turn? Makes no sense. Whatever. I'm glad we're here. I want Shida to be a heel. I want Shida and Stat to have a non-title death feud. This is what I want. But how is that? That was the thing? Her trying to not lose a world title match is a heel turn now? Okay. It's every person for himself in a four-way where there are no rules. That does not make sense to me that was a heel turn. No, I don't get it. But whatever. I digress. After that little promo, we find Divine Dominion walking backstage, and they say, oh, it's a shame. They only lasted like 30 seconds. And then we find out that Ty J was laid out. There was an iron back there. So the Divine Dominion dominated and beat up them in the background. And then we find out next week that Ty J is going to be facing Divine Dominion, but it's not in a normal tag match. It's in one of the 5-minute eliminators. So they have to make the 5 minutes, right? They have to. They have to make the 5 minutes. So we'll see. We then had this was the best match on Collision, in my opinion. It was Ace Austin, Andrade El Idolo. They kind of just threw this at us. I didn't even know this match was happening. Ace Austin getting he's fought Okada, he's fought Moxley, now he's fighting Andrade. Great signing. I've said it multiple times. Under the radar signing, I feel like people did not talk about it enough. Great signing. He's going to be a big deal for them for years to come. This was a really, really good match back and forth. A shorter match. They only had the hour. But really, really good. Ace Austin getting some great offense in this match. They go back and forth. They're outside, inside, front chancery, which was really nice. And it was countered into a small package. A nice little knee lift from Ace. Hits a second one. He hits a back suplex, a leg drop. Fireman's carry. He did a lot of the squats with Andrade on him, which was really good. And then he hits the Death Valley Driver on Andrade. Andrade kicks out. He's climbing the turnbuckle. He does a sunset flip powerbomb from Andrade, which was a really, really good spot. He hits the corner knees, but Austin sidesteps him. He hits a springboard roundhouse. It looks like he pulls the card out of his sleeve. It looks like he's going to go for his finisher, but he turns it into that like spinning back elbow that he does. He hits the underhooks. He hits the DM. Boom. Boom, boom. Andrade El Idolo gets the win. Very good match. Competitive match with Andrade and Ace Austin. And then we were at our main event. The lights go out. They turn back on. It is a lights out Philly street fight. Hikaru Shida, Chris Statlander. I thought the match started off a little bit slow. They were, feeling each other out for the first good 3 to 5 minutes of the match. It didn't start off bad. It just, for a lights out match, it didn't start off like chaotically, which was fine. They kind of built to it. They started with chairs. They started to do a few things. There were a couple chair spots that didn't go the way that they were intended to go, which I think probably made it feel that way at first as well. At one point, Hikaru Shida had an apple, and she was beating and punching Chris Statlander with the apple in her hand. Which was funny. She took a bite out of the apple. And then we started to get it started to ramp up. We came back from a commercial. Big Michinoku driver by Statlander. We get a pile of chairs. We have a superplex onto the pile of chairs, which was a good spot. Statlander then goes for a moonsault and misses on the pile of chairs. Then Shida hits a big Meteora onto the pile of chairs. They're going back and forth. At one point, Statlander threw a chair right in Shida's face, dude. No hands. Like, it was just gnarly looking. We got a table out there. Then we go under the ring. And this is the first time, I might be mistaken, but this is the first time we go under the ring. And we got light tubes. Statlander brings out light tubes. Now, we don't really see that a lot. Shida runs away from Stat trying to hit her with the light tube, so she puts the tubes down on the apron. They get back in the ring, and Shida hits a katana, and then Shida breaks the light tubes across Statlander's back. Then she hits a Falcon Arrow onto the broken light tubes, but Statlander kicks out. They showed Statlander's back, and it was bleeding, torn to shreds, gnarly looking spot there. And then Sheeta starts hitting Statlander's back with the kendo stick. She sets her head up in a chair, and it looks like she's going to hit it like Sabu style. But Statlander catches the kendo stick. She breaks it over her knee, and she like starts stabbing Sheeta. They're on the apron at this point. She starts stabbing Sheeta like on the head with the kendo stick, which was gnarly looking. And then she hits the Wednesday Night Fever from the apron, off the apron, through a table. And then she takes Sheeta back inside. Out of nowhere, Harley Cameron runs down. Maybe I missed something, but what the hell? I like Harley Cameron, but what the hell was she doing down there? Harley Cameron runs down. She gives Statlander another kendo stick. She hits Sheeta across the back. Statlander hits her up, hits another Wednesday Night Fever. 1, 2, 3. And then Chris Statlander and Harley head up the ramp together while Sheeta is kind of getting her bearings in the ring. And that is how the show goes off the air. Great main event. It picked up the whole second half of that match. Very violent, very good. I want to see more of Statlander and Sheeta. That better not just be it. That better be the start of it. I'm not really sure what the hell Harley Cameron. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I missed something on a collision or something. Has Harley Cameron been involved with this at all? I know Willow's hurt. I don't know. But I love both these girls. I thought this was really good. I would have liked Sheeta to win that match. I thought it would have done better for Sheeta, who just turned heel by, I guess, not letting someone win a title match. That's turning heel nowadays. But I thought it would have done Sheeta more to win this match, especially after the heel turn, to win a big, dangerous, brutal match right after the heel turn. But there's still plenty of time to get to that. I would like to see Sheeta in a prominent role here as a heel, a very prominent role. You talk about the vacant TBS title. I think a heel Sheeta would be a perfect person to win that. Former multi-time AEW women's champion. I think the TBS title is not a bad spot for her. Just have banger matches as a heel. And the TBS champion, I would be more than okay with that. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. I would give last night a solid A-, B+ territory. I thought it was another great show. I think we're going back to 2-hour shows next week, which I think we kind of need. Spread out the 3-hour shows if you could. But another really great episode of Dynamite. Hit all the boxes. They are just humming right now. I'm assuming we're going to be getting some New Japan and just Stardom and CMLL iterations here over the next couple weeks as we're a month away from Forbidden Door. As you just saw on the screen, though, go give us a follow, mainevent_net on Twitter, on Instagram. Oh, it's over here now, but this little QR code, click that sucker. That'll get you everywhere you need to go. Please subscribe. We're on the road to 400. If you are watching on YouTube, click that bell for notification. You'll get notified every time we have some of our great content going live or being released. We have a bunch of great stuff on a weekly basis. You can catch me here, if not every Thursday, almost every Thursday, doing Kayfabe Coffee for AEW Dynamite. On Tuesdays, the Great Brown Hope does Monday Night Raw. That's where you can catch us, man. Appreciate you hanging out a little overtime with me. Talking about, but it was an overtime episode of Dynamite. Okay, one last thing. I'm sorry. I'm going to get out of here. How the hell are you giving me a 3-hour show and we got a half-hour overrun? I know it seems like I'm complaining. I'm not complaining. I love watching good wrestling, but I am on the East Coast. You're already giving me 8 to 11 on a motherfucking Wednesday. People got to work. And then you do a run over? Come on, man. You can't fit everything into an already longer show than usual? What are we doing? Anyway, on that note, great show. Loved it. I'm not complaining, even though I'm complaining. I'm speaking for my people. People had to wake up early to go to work today. It's messed up, man. It's messed up. But anyway, I'll see you all next week. We got content all weekend coming up. We got a Mixed Surfer Clash happening this weekend. We got a special little thing for the Mask vs. Mask happening this weekend. You know where to check it. Thursday night, you can find me over on Love Wrestling doing the Between Two Beards with Pluggo, who's also here on Main Event. That's where you can find me. But they have a show here too, obviously. On the Mark Pod happens Thursday nights as well. because they like to counter program. But that's where you can find us all. Follow me, JPJ Loves Gaming. I appreciate you being here. Appreciate everybody in the chat. I will see you next week. Till then, peace.
What up, though? You already know what it is. Best in the world, a.k.a. The Problem. Isaiah Bronin. And you watching the Main Event Wrestling Network.